All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, Jon and Jim. We are with you until 6 o'clock here tonight. There's a lot to get into. Our fantasy football insider back in the show, Paul Charchian, guillotineleagues.com. He'll join us at 3:30. We've got a handicapper for you this week. He's going to join us the next couple of weeks. Danny B. He's been on the station for a long time over the years. Danny B. dbwins.com will join us coming up at 4 p.m. We talked about it a bit there in the Fusion, or did we? Did we talk about the Padres in the Fusion?
No.
We talked about the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the Warriors.
Right.
But we didn't talk about Eric Katsenda as the new point person, at least on an interim basis, for Peter Seidler. So the business of baseball, as the Padres grieve as they should, the business will not stop. We understand it. It's professional sports. And Peter Seidler, remember, he was quoted recently, Jim, as saying, this franchise will remain in this family's name for 50 to 100 years.
This is exactly what he said. There will never be another fire sale in San Diego, and I expect my family to own the franchise for 50 to 75 more years, and then we'll figure out what to do. Hopefully go for more. I'll be talking from the grave.
Okay, so that's Peter Seidler. 2 days after his passing, Eric Katsenda is in charge. Now, it's interim. The business has to move on.
Yeah.
His ownership stake is in a trust. The Seidlers still own the Padres, but a Seidler, as we speak, is not the point person for the Padres. It could change in a day, a week, a month, a year. But as we speculated on even beginning yesterday, it's changing. Now, we don't know it's changing for the worse. We don't know. It's like the fear of the unknown to some extent. Nobody knows who Eric Katsenda is. I read Dennis's piece within the last hour. I read what Evan Drellick put up earlier. I've seen what Kevin Acee has written. I've gone to the Google search. You can find 2 paragraphs on the guy. I'm not kidding.
I spent probably a good 10 minutes searching
for an image,
for anything.
There's nothing on him. So that doesn't mean it's good or bad, but that's what it means. It's not Peter Seidler. So we knew there'd be a change. Yeah. This, as I see it right now, is like, this is significant because it's not a Seidler. It was always going to be a change, even if it wasn't Peter, even if it's a brother or a sister or a wife or a child, but this is a real change. He's worked with them for a long time with his equity team, but Eric Katsenda is in charge.
So all you can find on Eric Katsenda right now is a picture of him at SeidlerEquityPartners.com or SEPfunds.com. That's their website.
And how many sentences? Seriously, how many sentences is on him?
This is all we have on Eric Katsenda, who is now the point man for the Padres. In the interim basis. Eric is a co-founder of Seidler Equity Partners. He is actively involved in establishing and overseeing SEP's strategic vision, promoting the firm's core investment principles, and developing strategic and investment initiatives. Eric is also responsible for originating and qualifying investment opportunities, conducting due diligence, executing transactions, and directing portfolio construction and management. He is a member of the firm's executive committee and investment committee.
You know what that screams to me, Jim? Gunslinger.
Computer.
Yeah, just like that sounds like Peter Seidler to me. Man, when I hear about executing transactions and doing due diligence, that to me, that screams we're going to increase that payroll. That thing's going up to $350.
Here's what I would say on this. This is like Dennis has reported and Evan Drellick today is on an interim basis. So I'm not going to go like, this is horrible for the franchise. This is a problem. This guy, hopefully he doesn't take Peter's vision for this team and completely flip that on its head and revert back to the old ways. So him being on an interim basis, I think they just need somebody to be like the point man right now while they figure out what they're eventually going to do, which is what Peter wanted is the team to remain and the chairman of the team to remain in his family.
Did he now? But the chairman thing is, we don't know. When he said the team was going to remain in his family for generations, essentially, we didn't know if that means the point person for the Padres is going to be a Seidler. And by the way, there's been a lot of instances of someone with an interim tag that then gets a full-time tag. I mean, this happens in all walks. So this was obviously well thought out. This was clearly thought out. I mean, 2 days after his passing, he's the interim chairman. This was obviously thought out. There's not some legal battle over it.
When you are running a multi-billion-dollar company and organization, and the chairman is going through health issues,
Yeah.
these things are obviously talked about,
right?
And they are put in place. And it's just that's how these things work, because this is such a huge operation that needs to be moved forward. And one thing in Dennis's piece today that I thought was the most interesting part of it all, because you're wondering, who is Eric Casenda? Is he gonna ruin the franchise? And first off, it's an interim basis. I don't think we should go that far with it. But Dennis is reporting a true teardown, however, is unlikely. The Padres' current 2024 payroll estimate is around $198 million. That's what their estimate will be for next season. And the teardown, as Dennis said, is unlikely. Now, that's just for next year. Who knows in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right?
Yeah, but he said, think about this, Jim, just from a sheer PR perspective, just hear me out. Even if in the organization's best interest, even if Eric Kusenda and others, even if the Seidlers wished to execute a teardown against the literal public statement of the previous owner, you won't draw flies to Petco Park. You're going to go from 3.2 million. Yeah, are you?
I'm not going to go that far right now.
I will. If you tear it down.
No, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't tear it down. You cannot tear it down.
Yeah, we know you can't.
That's what I'm saying. So that's not even a question.
I know. I'm not going to go as far as to even think about that it being a possibility at this moment.
But he said, it's unlikely.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you just read. As if to say that this idea out there that, hey, maybe things do change without Peter Seidler. I'm just saying, I guess I'm stating the obvious. I'm saying if there was a teardown, if Padres players said, I'll waive no trade clauses, you're in debt, you're up against thresholds, we're not going to win here. You've told us we're not going to win here. I want out. You can, that is literally against the wishes of the most popular owner in the history of the city. So it cannot happen. Now, I would say this, though, by going from 250 to 200 is still tough to navigate. We thought they were going to do that regardless of Peter's health issues.
Yeah.
But going 250 to 200, a 20% slash.
But that was already going to happen.
I know, but
with Peter.
But I'm saying it's a fine line, I guess, is what I'm saying. Getting to 200 from 250 and being competitive is like, it's not a teardown, but you got to be careful to make sure it's not a teardown to get to 200.
Yeah. And look, I understand what you're saying, but like at the same time, the team is in a situation where they're grieving, they're mourning. Everyone's still mourning. This is not something that just goes away overnight. They had a plan in place for the immediate future with Eric Casenda to be the point person of this team. Dennis also said that they're going to address the future of the franchise next week as well. So until
what does that mean? Oh, you mean like get back to baseball activity?
Well, and the future of the franchise. Like, I don't know the exact
in terms
wording.
of like who's running it.
I don't know. Hold on. The exact wording of it was, if I could find it right here. Hold on a second. If I look at here. All right. There's Dennis's article. There we go. This is great for radio.
Really good.
This is awesome for radio. He says the Padres plan to publicly address their ownership situation next week.
Okay.
So I am not even remotely thinking or worried about potentially a teardown or anything in the future as of this moment in time until I hear from the Padres.
No, either am I, but I'm saying even when I hear Dennis say, hey, a teardown is unlikely, brings up the idea that I need to write a teardown is unlikely because there could be a perception after the passing of an owner and a change from a Seidler to someone else from an equity team that balances books with base. You've borrowed $50 million from baseball. I need to get my payroll down. Like you start putting pieces together. You're like, I hope they're able to still execute on his vision is my point.
Yeah. That's what we've been saying is the vision of Peter Seidler going forward. You hope it continues, and it probably will never be the same. It will never be to the level of Peter can walk in a room and get something done, or Peter has a vision and giving the okay to whoever the general manager is to go out and spend the extra $100 million to get a player that they want.
And that might have been over anyway because of the debt issues.
True.
We were already saying that. Brent, what do you got?
Look, I'm not worried. This dude's going to be in charge for 2 weeks probably, and then he'll be replaced.
I don't know.
I'm not worried that he's just going to, drive the
Tear it
franchise
down
into the
in 2
ground
weeks.
in a week and a half, especially since Thanksgiving's next week, so they won't work barely at all next week. So
Yeah, but who's next? Like, you see, like, who's this? Who is the heir?
That's the question that
that's what they'll get figured out. That's why I'm not too worried about this guy, because he's not going to be around in 2 or 3 weeks anyways.
he probably will be around longer than that, because it's going to take it's a long process for Major League Baseball to appoint the next chairman of the Padres and the person that will be the point man for the team. There was a thing in Major League Baseball that Rob Manfred said today to Dennis Lin, says that we redid the MLB Constitution last time. We fixed a hole that we had when a control person passes away. We didn't have a process, so we put it in place, the concept of an interim control person. So
gotcha.
That's why this happened so quickly, and that's why it's going to take some probably significant time before we know who will be officially, I guess, the point person in charge of this franchise.
Fair, but let me just say this, like what I said earlier. The fear of the unknown is a real fear.
It is.
That people always fear that. You're comfortable with what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his passing occurred, so of course there was going to be a change. I mean, that's inevitable. But I'm just saying, when you hear, and this could be semantics and formality, when you heard from Peter directly, it's going to be in my team, in my family's name for 100 years or whatever, 75 years. And then 2 days later, Eric Kutsenda with 3 sentences on an equity website. That's the fear of the unknown for me. And I'm with you. It's not a time to overreact and riot and picket, but it is another huge question about the process that starts this offseason for the Padres.
And one thing that we know Eric Kutsenda has been involved with has been the search for a new manager.
Right, with Eric Grupner, with AJ Preller.
Dennis Lin wrote, Kutsenda and Grupner have been involved in the search for a new manager, obviously, which was paused after the tragic passing of Peter Seidler 2 days ago. Although team sources indicated Thursday that the president of baseball operations, AJ Preller, remains largely responsible for the final decision.
I would hope so.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't you? I mean, seriously, let's just walk through that for 1 second. Eric Kutsenda, 1 day on the job. Eric Grupner, who I think's done a marvelous job marketing the franchise, does not oversee baseball operations. You might not like AJ Preller as a GM, but you're not going to trust him to make the hire for the next manager. I'm just saying, like, I'm leaning to Preller to make the decision. Are you leaning to the Kutsenda? I'm not saying you. Are people leaning towards the Kutsenda Grupner? Have the majority?
I know nothing about Eric Kutsenda other than
Neither do I.
A couple paragraphs on the Seidler Equity website.
Do you trust? I'll ask this question: would you trust him and Eric Grupner if there were 3 votes? There's 3 people in a room. We're hiring a manager. Eric Kutsenda, Eric Grupner, AJ Preller. Whoever gets 2 votes wins. Are you trusting that group of 3 to make the right decision over just AJ Preller, who's gotten it wrong before?
Yeah. Look, before the untimely passing of Peter, I didn't trust what they were doing. Like, I still don't trust what they're doing. I just knowing that the voice in the room that was the calm voice in the room, the person that people could lean on is now gone. It's going to make things obviously way more difficult going forward because I don't know if everybody is in alignment. I don't know if there's that one person in the room that people are turning towards to get that consensus. You know, we heard from Peter at the end of the year, his preference was to have AJ and Bob remain and work together. Obviously, that didn't work out. It was never going to work out, but that was the wishes of Peter, which is also extremely disappointing in itself. But this franchise, like you said, if you have 3 people in the room, at this point in time, when nothing about Eric Kutsenda, right? Knowing nothing about his relationship with AJ Preller, knowing nothing about any of that dynamic, I don't know where they're turning to get that, leadership role at this moment in time when they're searching for a manager.
Remember this: Peter Seidler was not just incredibly loyal to AJ Preller, he let Preller make baseball decisions.
He did.
Now, would he step in occasionally? You could certainly argue it. Look at the Manny Machado recent contract extension.
Yeah.
Was he involved in luring Bob Melvin from Oakland? We could have that conversation. I'm not certain, but I do know this. AJ Preller had a lot of autonomy under the watch of Peter Seidler.
Mhm.
I don't know if that continues when what you just talked about, how, yeah, it's we're led to believe Preller is gonna have maybe the last say there, but Eric Grupner and Eric Katsenda are involved in a search for a Padres manager. The whole thing to me, until I see people on a podium
Well, yeah, and that's been next week.
explaining the
Yeah.
process is really murky. It's murkier than I expected because I just expected, and maybe I was naive. I just expected the last name of the person that was running the Padres come today or whenever
Mhm.
they made a decision. I expected the last name to be Sadler.
And I think before Tuesday, everybody expected that was just looking from the outside in and wasn't close to the situation with Peter, for him to, you know, battle this and come out on the winning side.
Sure, no doubt.
Like, hearing things like, "Oh, Peter has been involved of late." Remember when AJ spoke for a
Yes.
second time, and he was asked about, Peter and his role, and he mentioned how, involved Peter still was, and then also hearing that, "Hey, reports are that he's taken a turn for the better, and that he's on the mend." And then I think Tuesday, why it just felt so sudden is because we all thought Peter would pull through and that Peter would eventually be returning. And so now you look at the whole situation, and I'm with you. Like, driving to work today, even thinking about it, I'm like, dude, this is
Dude, there's three
uh,
sentences. And again, he
this
could be
is
the
crazy.
greatest, he could be the greatest person in the history of the world.
This is, yeah, it feels so, you're right, murky.
I mean, again, it's one of those things where you hate to judge before you should judge, and I really am not. It could be a great situation in the end, but it's just a little. Of course, there's a natural trepidation where you're like, Eric Katsenda, is he a part of our community? Not that I'm aware of. Eric Katsenda, what has he done previously to put himself in this position? Oh, interesting. I can't really find anything.
Honestly, truthfully though, whoever it becomes, we're gonna probably feel the same way, don't you think?
But I don't think if the last name was Seidler, people would feel that way. We'd have questions. It would be a different person. I don't think so.
And because it's not, I see, I would tend to be on the side of, like, you're right. If it's a Seidler,
Yeah.
my uh, my thoughts about it might not be where they're at now, but I would still be like, look,
Oh, it would be
it's
way
not,
different.
it's not Peter.
Yeah, no, that's
I
true.
mean, just look at the Yankees. Hal Steinbrenner. Okay, just because his last name's a Steinbrenner doesn't mean he's going to do everything that his father did.
No.
And by the way, a lot of Yankees fans think that Hal Steinbrenner sucks.
And they thought the same thing about George.
They did too, but George actually, he won.
Well, George won and spent more than Hal. Hal's been more measured than George.
Yeah.
And he's taken a lot of criticism for it. Eric Katsenda, based on the three sentences, to me, will be more measured than Peter Seidler. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I read those three sentences. I know they got a $50 million credit from Major League Baseball and their payroll's got to come down. And it doesn't scream to me the day I'm in charge, we're wheeling and dealing.
I just am on the side of, like what Brent said too, is I'll wait and see, hear them talk next week. Whenever we find out who will be the point person officially, not on an interim basis, then we can start having these real, like, okay, you hope that this person, carries out the vision of what Peter had. It won't be to the same extent because no one's Peter Seidler, but you hope that they take that vision and they have it on a board and they try their best of their ability to achieve that. And whenever that happens, it could be in 2 weeks, could be in a month, could be in a year, honestly. Like, this could take a while, unfortunately. Like, this could take a long time.
Which is what we spoke about yesterday. Why I just feel like you're beginning a process that you might be beginning a process on again in a year.
Yeah.
Because if you hire a manager right now, hear me out on this hypothetical. You hire a manager, Peter Seidler's no longer here. AJ Preller's under contract. Seidler was incredibly loyal to Preller.
Yeah.
You can't convince me that if you don't win in 2024 without Peter Seidler, you're not searching for a GM next year. You cannot convince me that.
Or because they don't have somebody officially in place and Eric Katsenda is on an interim basis,
Nobody makes the
decision. Nobody makes a decision and nobody makes a change.
That's a worst case scenario. That's a worst case scenario if the organization isn't able to operate in the best interest of winning. right? That's the worst possible scenario is the Ducks aren't in a row. That's the worst possible scenario. I'm not kidding. Everything else is going to happen around you.
I trust them to have at least some semblance of having their quote ducks in a row.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just saying from a baseball perspective where we've been very critical in general of the paths they've taken.
Yeah.
Like
now we're looking at it like before, right? At the end of this season, all of my opinions on AJ Preller as the general manager of this team was directed at Peter. It was Peter, like, you got to understand here that this guy is not getting it done for you, and it's time to make a change. Like now, like you said, John, if they don't win, who are we directing these thoughts and opinions to?
That's Senda?
Yeah, I don't know.
Either do I. And again, I all I know is this, and we got Paul Charchian on the other side. We'll talk some fantasy football. It's hard enough to win.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone around you is doing everything in their power to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying today you got to figure it all out. That's not my point. I'm just saying that when dust settles, you better be in a position where you think you can compete with teams like the Giants and the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, who are in your division, let alone everyone else.
Yeah, this is it's a tough time for the Padres for many reasons. Obviously, the first and foremost being the loss of Peter for sure. But like we said yesterday, unfortunately, life sucks at times, and no matter what, you have to move forward. You just have to.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not about, hey, today you got to get it right. But now that they've named this point person, I think it's fair to wonder what it's going to look like when they finally do introduce this point person and what the organizational structure is going to look like. All right, Paul Charchian, our fantasy insider, joins us on the other side. We've got a handicapper for you coming on at 4 p.m. We'll also be joined by Friars Till We Die, right? They're going to join us at 4:30 about an initiative.
Chris from Friars Till We Die. He's going to join us to talk about something cool that he's doing to help donations for the Lucky Duck Foundation.
Very cool. He'll join us coming up at 4:30. On the other side, we'll talk some fantasy football. We'll get you ready for this weekend in the NFL beginning tonight with Paul Charchian. He'll join us next. We'll get you ready for this weekend in the NFL, beginning with Thursday Night Football tonight. Bengals and Ravens. Our fantasy insider, Paul Charchian, joins us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Breaking news in baseball. Shohei Ohtani has won another MVP unanimously.
Underrated.
First player to win unanimously twice in his career. The other time was 2021. But yes, John, he is a very overrated player.
I said underrated.
Well, you also said before that he was overrated.
That was before.
Anyway, moving on to college football. Jim Harbaugh, he's accepted his 3-game suspension for the remainder of the season. Aztecs basketball tomorrow night versus St. Mary's in Las Vegas. 6:30 tip, 5:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760.
What time? No, the pregame coverage starts at 6.
Well, it starts at 3 o'clock anyway. Aztecs take on San Jose State Saturday, 7:30 kick, 5:30 pregame. And the Padres, they have named Eric Casenda as their interim point person in the wake of the passing of Peter Seidler. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jim is questioning pregame show lengths. We'll talk about that later. Paul Charchian back with us, guillotineleagues.com. Another week of the NFL kicking off tonight. Bengals Ravens tonight, Thursday Night Football. Paul, always good to have you with us here, San Diego Sports 760. Let's start with tonight. Lamar Jackson, the last couple of weeks, 3 games, in fact, 2 total touchdowns. What do you expect tonight at home?
Yeah, I think the bounce back is coming here. And the funny thing is, it's not because the Ravens aren't playing well, and it's not because Lamar Jackson's not playing well. They're playing great to the point that he's getting games scripted out of the end zone. They put up 31, 37, 31 points the last 3 games. The Ravens have about 100 points in 3 games. And they get ahead early in all these games. Even last week, they ultimately ended up losing. They were ahead for vast majority of the game. So the game script turns very run heavy, which they love to do there anyway. And they're not going to run Lamar in games on their way ahead. So yeah, it's been odd. Just the 2 touchdowns the last 3 games, and I think it turns around. Bengals secondary ranks 30th by Pro Football Focus. 3 of the last 4 quarterbacks to face the Bengals have thrown for at least 320 yards, and they've given up a quarterback rushing touchdown in back-to-back games. So it feels like this one's going to be way closer. the Ravens likely are just going to run their way to victory. So I think this one stays close enough that we get a lot more passing and the opportunity for the rushing touchdowns for Lamar Jackson. So let's hope the bounce back is here. He is my number 4 ranked receiver for this, quarterback for this week.
And moving over to the Bengals side, T. Higgins potentially going to miss this game tonight. What's the impact of his loss for Joe Burrow tonight against a pretty good defense in the Ravens?
Yeah, Burrow seemed unfazed by the loss of T. Higgins last week. At least mostly. He finished with 350 yards, 2 scores, completed like 67% of his passes. He was fine. And he peppered slot receiver Tyler Boyd with 12 targets. And you'd think they could do that again here, but I don't know if that makes as much sense against a far better Ravens pass defense. Maybe the best in the league. They rank number 2 in coverage by Pro Football Focus. They've allowed the fewest passing touchdowns, 0.8 per game. That's it. And specific to Boyd, who runs from the slot, he draws a really tricky matchup with slot cornerback Arthur Mollett, who's been really solid. Has not given up a touchdown all year, hasn't given up more than 79 yards in any game. So I don't know that Boyd's going to be the same solution here. We're probably going to get a lot more running than we have in previous games, at least recently, from Joe Mixon. I think that might be more the approach here.
Paul Charchian is with us, guillotineleagues.com. Our fantasy insider back with us, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So Rams are off a bye, right? With Matt Stafford potentially returning. They've got the Seahawks at home. Yeah. He's got receiver weapons. What are your expectations for Stafford if he returns?
Yeah, so this is so weird, right? So, it's a throwing hand injury, so you have to be a little bit cautious about that. But he's been so pedestrian. And get this, Matthew Stafford has 0 or 1 touchdown pass in 7 of the last 8 games. And counterintuitively, he hasn't topped 226 yards since Cooper Kupp came back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 226 is nothing. And Cooper Kupp's back on the field with Puka Nacua, and suddenly Stafford is stalled out. So really weird. And then Kupp's got a fascinating matchup in this game. They play Seattle. Seattle's got one of the leading candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's their slot cornerback, Devin Witherspoon, who went in the first round. He hasn't given up a score since opening weeks, giving up just a 46% completion rate, 4th best among all corners. So Cooper Kupp's got a tricky matchup here. So, yeah, I'm not that enthusiastic about Matthew Stafford for this game, and I've got him ranked as my 20th quarterback this week.
Paul, I've kept him stashed away because he was doing fantastic before he got hurt. Devon Achane coming back off of IR. He was one of the top running backs in the league before he got injured. What's the real expectations for him coming back into this offense for the Dolphins?
Yeah, this is also fascinating. So comes off IR, hasn't been activated yet, but it certainly appears he will. And he was, as you mentioned, just electric before the injury. For the 3 games that he got a lot of work in, he was Pro Football Focus's highest graded runner in the entire league, and he scored 5 touchdowns. And here come the Raiders. They're giving up the 3rd most total yards to running backs, the 5th most yards per carry to running backs, the 8th most touchdowns to running backs. So the matchup's all great. So where could it possibly derail? Well, we know Mike McDaniel loves his rotation of backs. And when Achane was rocking at the start of the year, Jeff Wilson and Salvon Ahmed were both hurt, and they weren't taking any reps away from this backfield. And they're back healthy now. So it's possible McDaniel eases Achane back. I worry, where it could go sideways. What if Achane has like a 7-touch, 8-touch game? And he'd have to be pretty magical with 7 or 8 touches to put up a fantasy meaningful game. And he's been pretty magical when he was healthy, so maybe he could be. But that's where some possible downside lies here.
So a couple of things on Minnesota. A, how have they been able to do this on offense without Justin Jefferson? And if Justin Jefferson returns, I mean, he's an immediate must-start guy, right?
Yeah, if we rewind the clock to that Jefferson injury, the Vikings were 1-4, and Jefferson's out on IR. And here in Minnesota, we were like, well, that's the season. And, we're already looking ahead to the draft and, what quarterbacks we want to take and stuff like that. And then they've reeled off 5 straight wins without Justin Jefferson. And you all know the Josh Dobbs story. It's been unbelievable. And Jefferson could come back this Sunday. Now, where this gets a little bit complicated, Jon and Jim, is they play Sunday night. And I think the Vikings are going to play coy on Jefferson's return until shortly before kickoff. So everybody's got to set their lineups at, what are you guys, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific time,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you got to set your lineups then. So here's your angle. You could, and obviously you're going to play Jefferson if he's healthy. And key to this, they've said all along, when he does hit the field, it's going to be because he's at basically 100%. And so they'll deploy him fully when he does go. So what you could do is you could pick up KJ Osborne, who plays that night. Marvin Mims plays that night. Ty Chandler's the new running back. You put Jefferson in your flex. You could go with Brandon Powell for the Vikings. So pick up one of those other guys, play this thing out until shortly before kickoff. And if Jefferson's going, you put him in. If not, you could deploy one of these other guys and hope that that guy gives you, 60, 70% of what Jefferson might have.
Paul, we all know the stats when Taylor Swift is in the building for Travis Kelce. He's phenomenal. She's expected to be there on Monday night. Parents are supposed to be meeting. Could we expect a just massive performance from Travis Kelce on Monday night versus the Eagles?
And, I know the obvious answer is like, well, yeah, it's Travis Kelce. But you know what? He's had some really dud games by his standards in the last month or so. Anytime she doesn't show up, the guy's it hasn't gone very well. And I don't know that's, I imagine it's just a coincidence, but let's talk it through. He is my number one ranked tight end. Kelce saw less than 8 targets for the first time in that game before the bye week. He leads all tight ends in yards per route run, and he's very good, obviously. And, this is still an ultimately pretty positive matchup against the Eagles. Logan Thomas went for 44 yards and a touchdown. And then Ferguson from Dallas went for 91 and a touchdown in the last 2 Eagles games. So I think he likely bounces back here. The Taylor Swift effect is in full bloom. And so, yeah, it's, we're right back to starting Travis Kelce like we used to.
All right, Paul, we always appreciate it. For our listeners, they're looking for your rankings, your insight for this weekend in the National Football League. Where should they go?
GuillotineLeagues.com. And this is the last week to join a Guillotine League. You can play out the rest of the season in the most fresh format in fantasy sports, Guillotine League. So we encourage people to give it a try.
Paul Charchian, our weekly fantasy insider here on Jon and Jim. We appreciate your time, Paul, in San Diego. We'll
Thanks,
do it again.
Paul.
Yep. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Paul Charchian. All right. Story of the day is what the Padres have done with an interim label of Eric Katsenda, the point person for the organization, at least in the short term moving forward. What does it mean? We'll continue to react. On the other side, we've got a handicapper for you joining us at 4 p.m. A lot to get to. Great giveaways today as well. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Eric Kitsenda is the interim point person for the San Diego Padres. We continue to discuss what it all means next. All right, Danny B, dbwins.com has a free play for you coming up at 4 p.m. So we'll be joined by a handicapper coming up at 4 p.m. We've got Chris from Friars Till We Die at 4:30 to talk about something he's doing and Friars Till We Die is doing to benefit the Lucky Duck Foundation. We've got great giveaways today, Jim. We've got a pair of tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational next week at Lion Tree. We've also got a 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California with Legoland Holiday, which is here. We've been reacting to Eric Kitsenda, named the interim chairman. Is that accurate? Chairman, point person?
Point person, yeah.
All right, interim point person for the San Diego Padres beginning now, 2 days after the passing of Peter Seidler. We don't fully know what it means. I wonder if the first time we hear from him is when the Padres officially announce their next manager.
Probably next week. That's when Dennis said that they're going to address the ownership with the Padres moving forward.
I wonder if that would be separate from a managerial press conference, as in, here's our new ownership group.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably, I would bet they already know who the manager is going to be. I'm sure they probably have already maybe contacted them. Everybody knows.
Well, I know they've definitely contacted them.
Well, I mean, hey, you're the guy, right?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And I'm sure they're like, we're just going to wait this out.
Sure.
And we're going to wait to announce it. It's crazy today because, the unfortunate passing of Peter this past week on Tuesday. And then that is immediately followed with that scum owner in Oakland, John Fisher, and what Major League Baseball did today, sending the A's or approving the A's to go to Las Vegas. And it's like you have the complete, you have one guy who could give two Fs about his franchise and another man who deeply loved and cared about the Padres. And
irony, you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't worry about the A's. I feel like John Fisher gets way too much airtime. I just do.
Why?
There's been so much attention paid to this.
Well, he's the owner.
I know. Okay. I don't. Why do we give him the attention? I mean,
because he's the owner.
Okay. He's the owner of the A's.
We gave Dean Spanos all the attention,
but the A's aren't in San Diego. I'm saying, okay. So it sucks. I completely agree. I mean, but it's not the first move, and it won't be the last.
It's only been 2 moves in the expansion era, and that's that was
in the expansion era since '69.
Yeah,
Expos,
and now the A's.
All right, but in sports, I'm saying there's been a lot of moves. It sucks. We've experienced it here in the last 7 years. It sucks.
Okay,
I don't understand. I understand the dichotomy. Fisher sucked while Peter was living, and Peter was good. Yeah, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. I mean, we should be thankful, I guess, that the Padres are good. I don't understand the point of Fisher.
I was just relaying it to what happened today at the owners' meetings with Jon Fisher.
But this has been approved for like a year, hasn't it? It was already.
No,
this was really a pins and needles thing.
No, but the official vote was today, and all the owners said, "Yeah, we're right. You can move."
Yeah, okay. I mean, the Padres approved it, right? I don't know if they would have if Peter was living. I have no idea.
No idea.
Giants approved it. Every team approved it. It's like, aren't we? They're kind of all complicit. It's a business.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I don't understand the Fisher.
A business? You're just saying it's a business?
I don't understand the Fisher tie into what it has to really.
Well, it's a story today, and I'm just saying, everything that Peter Seidler was is the complete opposite of Jon.
No doubt,
Jon Fisher.
We know that.
The pretty much scum of owners in sports. We would
have said Dean Spanos. I don't think he takes the leader poll. Personally,
I would put him I'd put him with that group towards the top.
Well, yeah, anyone I think that moves a franchise is probably considered in that spot.
Well, it's not just moving the franchise; it's everything that he did to hinder the franchise from ever succeeding in Oakland. Ever. You don't care.
I mean, I don't. I guess I don't. I don't know. I guess maybe I do. I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. I don't know what it has to do with the Padres' current situation right now.
I wasn't saying it had anything to do with the Padres situation. I was comparing it how it's just the worst thing ever that Peter Seidler, we lose Peter Seidler, who was the person that loved this city, this franchise, and did everything he possibly could. Mm-hmm. And on the opposite end, you have this loser owner in Jon Fisher who gets to just take his ball and go to one of the worst TV markets and one of the smallest markets, smaller than San Diego, by the way, and take the A's with him. And everybody in baseball is just like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, who cares?
That's what I'm saying. That's the business of baseball I'm talking about. You're 100% right. Everyone in baseball allowed it to happen, did they not?
Well, mostly Jon Fisher and the Rob Manfred. And I don't think any other owner could have done anything. I mean, yes, they could have blocked the vote today, and that would have been totally it'd been amazing. Yeah. But Jon Fisher is just the worst of the worst type of owners, and it's here in San Diego talking about one of the best owners.
Yeah, and we don't know. I mean, I guess I do agree with the idea that we don't know what the other side looks like,
and in the absence of Peter. You pray
that you don't end up in that spot.
You do not end up in a spot with anybody close to Jon Fisher being in charge of this team.
And I'm not worried about that. Like you said to start the show the same way. I'm not at the point like, oh my gosh, now that Peter's gone and Eric Katsenda is taking over even as an interim point person. Nobody's worried about sky is falling, team is moving stuff. Nobody's worried about that, but you are worried about what it looks like and how different it potentially is going to be. I am worried about that. Absolutely. 100%. Because it's not, whatever it was, it's not going to be. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but it's not going to be what it was.
It will never be what it was. And you just sit here, if you're a Padres fan, and you're just hoping and praying that it's not even close to the Jon Fishers of the world or the Dean Spanos of the world. I'm not going to move the Padres, but you get my point of somebody who doesn't have this deep care and affection for the team and the fan base, which is what Peter had and what Jon Fisher has none of.
No doubt. I mean, you've had some of the worst in the history here. I mean, Sterling and Spanos here in this city. So in this city, to get a 180 is incredible. And now to have that potentially taken away is, for some, and I agree, a worst case scenario if it doesn't play out properly. And that is fair. I mean, when you consider Dean Spanos and Donald Sterling own franchises in San Diego, and you had Peter Seidler, the complete opposite, and then to have it taken away from you so suddenly is a shock and awe type situation. I mean, the Chargers were taken away suddenly. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, heat of the night. Like we knew it was possible. It had been the vote. It was always a possibility. I have no clue about the Clipper situation 40 years ago. But this was like taken away from you suddenly.
Mhm.
Um,
And the same thing Peter, it felt like, was taken away suddenly. And it's just it's such a gut punch. And like that's where I was going with the whole John Fisher thing is like, look, Eric Ascenda today, we know nothing about him. We know 2 paragraphs on the Seidler Equity Group. We found one picture of him on the internet, like literally one picture of him on the internet.
mhm.
I don't think this is going to be Eric Ascenda going forward for the next 20 years.
Right.
But it is like, okay, now we're starting to see the transition. Everybody's still grieving, but things have to be done. Unfortunately, time moves on, and no one gets to stop and just stop time.
As we see today from the A's officially moving to
Yeah.
Las Vegas. All right. On the other side, Danny B, dbwins.com, our handicapper. He's got a free play for you this NFL weekend. Danny B on the other side. 2 great giveaways in the next 2 hours. A pair of tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational, a 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California as well. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update's brought to you by AutoZone. We'll start in baseball. The AL and NL MVPs were announced today. Shohei Ohtani and Ronald Acuna Jr. took home the awards. Moving over to college football, Jim Harbaugh accepts his 3-game suspension for the remainder of the regular season. Other news in baseball today, the owners unanimously approved 30-0 the official move today for the Oakland A's to Las Vegas. Aztecs basketball tomorrow night in Las Vegas. They take on St. Mary's, 6:30 tip-off. 6 o'clock pregame starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Aztecs take on San Jose State Saturday at 7:30. Pregame starts at 5:30. And the Padres, they've named Eric Casenda as their interim point person in the wake of the passing of Peter Seidler. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim. Great giveaways ahead over the next couple of hours. We've got those Rady Children's Invitational tickets to give away. We've got a 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California as well. It's great to have Danny B with us, dbwins.com. You're going to want to write this down. This number, he's got a free play hotline for you, 3 free plays right now. Here's the number, 877-828-0120. Again, 877-828-0120. He's also given our listeners a free play right now on the radio. You hear him each and every Saturday at 7 a.m., his Inside the Numbers radio show right here on San Diego Sports 760. You've heard him over the years as well, and he's got that free play for us. But first of all, Danny, thanks for hopping on. Tell our listeners, before we get into some of these games this weekend and some of these free picks, tell our listeners about what they can hear each and every weekend right here on San Diego Sports 760 on Saturday morning with your Inside the Numbers show.
Well, first of all, Jon, it's great to hear your voice. I feel like I'm listening to an Iron Pigs game again.
There you go. Now, so Danny's in the league. So before I moved to San Diego, did you know, Jim, I worked in minor league baseball?
What?
I've rarely discussed it. We're kidding. And Danny B lives in Allentown, which is where I was calling Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs games.
Wow.
Small world.
Wow.
Small world.
Very small world.
But yeah, tell us about what, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, Danny. So tell us about what you're doing Saturday mornings here in San Diego.
Well, in San Diego, like everywhere else, we release free winners every Saturday, every Sunday, actually every day on a recorded message. And if anybody has questions about the games, guys, they can simply press number 1 and we'll answer their questions. But, you know, we're here to help you with the experience. That's what it comes down to. Jon, like you said, I've been at this since 1994 on radio. I started professionally in 1983, fresh out of the Army. After a year playing baseball in Southern California, very familiar with the area, very diverse. Jon, we know a lot of the same local talent as well here. But my education in the industry, it's priceless. You know, wins and losses are very important. It's emotional, this business. You have to stagger your bets. You have to have the proper bankroll. Emotions will kill you. People get involved in the chase. Starting tonight, you have football. This is a holiday week. It continues. Black Friday, NFL. So what I try to do, not only give you a free win, is educate you, sit you down, slow you down, you know, and I've been at this. I'm 61 years old. I ain't a spring chicken. So mistakes that everybody's making, I've been there, I've done that. And you know what? I know what it's like. It's not easy. And now that the leagues are involved and all the stats and trends, I'm watching guys right now on TV giving out picks. It's data here, data there. Algorithms, it comes down to contacts, and patience. That's my approach to this is, allocate a budget, be patient, tell us a little bit about yourself and let us go to work for you and give us the better part of 30 days, not a day, not a weekend. Anybody can win, anybody can lose. But after the course of 30 days, somebody should be able to show you a little something by then.
Danny, you got 3 free plays on a recorded line. You're going to give out one to our listeners here in a moment. But let's start with the Raiders and Dolphins this weekend. Again, free on a recorded line at 877-828-0120. What do our listeners need to know about that game in particular?
Well, we consider this a tier 2 play, which means there's about 7 points of betting value. So either Vegas has a 7-point edge. In other words, the fish are laying too much or the fish are laying too little. We use a system, we call it the raw number betting system. It's based on strength. Some people call it units. You've heard 1 unit, 2 unit. We call it tier 1, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're comfortable with. And then we sit you down. That's why you don't have to talk to us. You can get the free winners, but the problem with when you only get the free winners, most people handpick it. They cherry, I don't like that game. I'm only going to bet 50 on this, and I really like that play. So they bet more. It comes down to just being patient, being consistent, and, not straying. A lot of people go left when we tell you to go right.
All right. So again, Danny B is with us right now, dbwins.com. The free play on a recorded line, free plays, 877-828-0120. You are going to give out a free play today. So why don't we get to that? Chargers, Packers, Sunday at Lambeau. What do you have for our listeners?
Well, right now I'm going to tell you to go over in this one. And not only will we have free winners, we have tonight's game, Cincinnati, Baltimore available. We have college action, Louisville, Miami. Big play Saturday night on Texas, Iowa State. So not only we have those 3 NFL winners, but there's games tonight, tomorrow. So call it every day. But we want you to go over in this one. We saw the Chargers last week in a shootout that they lost. We know they can score, but we know they can give up points. Right now, the total's at 43.5. Of course, buy it down to 43 and go over that in a shootout. Also, that site will be available on a recorded message, so you can connect it in a parlay as well.
All right. So again, for our listeners, by the way, Danny B, you're going to be back next Wednesday before the holidays, right? You're going to join us next Wednesday?
Yeah, of course. We're going to have Thanksgiving, Black Friday football. Can you believe what you know what? Now it's harder than ever. You might think you have an advantage because you have access to the free picks on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. But it comes more confusing, because for every stat that indicates go with Baltimore, another one will indicate go with Cincinnati, both coming off of a loss, right? So you can see argument with stats on this side. It comes down to following the money too. That's a big thing. What I do is I trail the money, big money. I know the offshore industry better than most. My partner's out in Vegas. So it's about following the money. It leads you to somewhere. No, and I'm not saying every time the casino loses too, but if you follow them and you ride their coattails, you'll win more times than you lose. And that's our approach. It's as simple as that.
All right. So free plays right now on a recorded line. Write this number down or call right now. 877-828-0120. It's 877-828-0120. dbwins.com. You can listen to Danny B each and every Saturday, 7 a.m. right here in San Diego. His Inside the Numbers radio show on San Diego Sports 760. Danny, we appreciate the pick for our listeners. We'll do it again next Wednesday. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. Have a it's an afternoon for you and an evening for me, but thanks for your time.
Thanks, Danny. All right, Danny B, dbwins.com. Chargers, Packers over Lambeau. It's kind of like Chargers over. Do you like the Chargers in general? No, but Chargers, they score and they allow points. Makes sense. So Chargers, Packers over is his play. All right, coming up at 4:30, Chris from Friars Till We Die on his initiative he's working on, benefiting the Lucky Duck Foundation. We'll talk more about that at 4:30. Also this hour, your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California. Great prize. Trainwreck Radio, 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California for Legoland holidays. Right now, let's get to this.
Would you put an asterisk by Michigan's season now that Jim Harbaugh has accepted his suspension?
No, because the players are still out there. They're still one of the best teams in the country. I wouldn't put an asterisk by it. I don't think I would.
Would you have put an asterisk by the Astros?
Yeah, I would.
Because they've reached the players, because it was a player-driven, like real-time scandal.
Player-driven, real-time thing in college football. Look, is sign stealing the worst thing in the world? I mean, they're
probably not.
They're literally throwing signs out there, like telling you, "Hey,
yeah,
this is what we're doing. Try to decipher it."
Right.
And so Michigan deciphered it. but they still had no evidence against Jim Harbaugh that he knew, even though it's hard to believe that he didn't know
But
because
accepting your suspension?
well, you're also probably saying, look, I don't want to try to derail the final couple games of the season. And plus we have probably the biggest game in all of college football until the college football playoffs with Michigan, Ohio State coming up here in a couple weeks. So I'm just going to say, yes, I'll take it on the chin, even though I don't think I deserve it. And this will give our team a little more motivation probably. And I'll see you guys back at the Big Ten title game and hopefully in, the national championship game as well.
Okay.
Not yet, because they haven't won anything yet.
Right. Yeah.
If Barry Bonds only hit 53 home runs, they wouldn't be going, oh, we got to put an asterisk by it, because it wouldn't break any records.
Yeah.
If the Astros didn't win the World Series, no one would be bitching about needing to put an asterisk by it. So if Michigan goes and loses to Ohio State by 45 and goes to the Outback Bowl or something, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
So it all depends. If they end up winning the whole thing, then yes, there's going to be a big fat asterisk next to it. But if not, I don't think anyone's going to care.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it'll be polarizing. I agree with that. There'll be people that do fully believe there should be an asterisk. If they win a national championship, there's going to be a lot of people that feel as if it's not legitimate. I think that's probably a bridge too far. It's certainly an indictment on Harbaugh. I don't know about his team. Next question.
Would you sign up for a split this weekend for the Aztecs in Vegas?
Yeah, I would. Now, what game would you want them to win?
The first.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the first, because you're getting like a top 25 to 50, certainly caliber team in St. Mary's. Where the second, you don't guarantee that. Xavier's really good. Washington, I haven't done the full research on it, but if you don't play Xavier and you lose to St. Mary's and you beat the University of Washington, I'm still probably taking it. Washington's 75th right now in the analytics, which isn't bad.
You had that pulled up so fast.
Well, yeah, I used Control F. So Washington at Ken Palm is 75th. Xavier at Ken Palm is 38th. And St. Mary's is 43rd. So actually the best of the three possible opponents is Xavier 38th, St. Mary's at 43rd, and Washington at 75. All of them quality opponents. Yeah. You get one, you feel fine, but you got to get one. So yes.
The first one.
I'd take the first.
Yes.
Next question.
Would you sign up for a split for the final 2 weekends of SDSU football?
I would just sign up for a win.
That's a split.
I know, it doesn't matter. Like you gotta get a. I think I would much rather have the only win being the Fresno State game at home.
Yeah.
Kind of
send off.
Yeah, and kind of not ruining their season, like their season, but putting a little dent in them.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because if you lose to a 3-8 team,
yeah, you're right.
Like that doesn't hurt, doesn't help you,
especially like a rivalry, which it is.
And what
every year,
Fresno State have what 1 or 2 losses this year?
They now have 2. They lost. They got beat by 20 points by San Jose State last week.
Okay,
24.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
so San Jose State's playing great football.
Yep. I would choose a split to be the win against Fresno State.
Me too. I mean, it would be a nice send off for a retiring coach to do it at home against a rival. To get one against Fresno State, to be honest, I take either. I think it would be impressive to get either. You're a 14-point dog this weekend. I don't think they'll be near a 14-point home dog to Fresno. Maybe 7 to 10. I'm thinking maybe 7. But you get one, and you've done good work. But you're going to be an underdog, a significant one, the next two games. Next question.
Would Blake Snell take a discount to return to the Padres?
If he took a discount, then his agent should be fired immediately.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. The answer is it's 99 out of 100 times a no.
I think, would I want Blake Snell back? Yes, but also I wouldn't want Blake Snell back at the price. Just having if I didn't know the price and nobody knew any of the prices of any players, then yeah, you want Blake Snell back because they have major issues with their rotation. You got 2 guys essentially in the rotation for next year that you can just say definitively they're in it.
Musgrove, Darvish,
and everybody else is a question mark. I would love Blake Snell back.
Yeah,
but at the money he's going to get, I wouldn't touch him at all, and I'll stand by that. Still.
Interesting. So it really doesn't have to do with you, and I agree with you with the discount. It has to do more with what he's going to get, and you wouldn't give it.
Right. Like if you're saying 8 years, 180 million.
8 years is a ton. I'd be very surprised if we got 8
what's
years.
what's the
I mean, 6 is a lot, isn't it?
So 6 years, 180.
The equivalent
30.
of the discount we would get is like buying something from the team store opposed to buying it at
Online?
like Target. To where at Target you might get that same Padres cap for $20, but if
It's
you go to the
50 at
team
the
store,
store.
it's going to
Yeah.
be marked up. So, are we going to get a discount on the team store price for Blake Snell or not?
Well, let me ask you this: if you're Snell and the Padres threw 150 in front of you, 5 for 150, 30 a year. Okay, so hear me out: 5 for 150 from the Padres, 6 for 175. I'm making it up. Yankees. Okay, so it's actually like $1 million less per year, but $25 million more guaranteed. Not 100 and 200, 150 and 175. One less year. You chasing the year? Like, you know what I mean? Like when it gets down to, that's a lot of money. I mean, it's $25 million.
I think it depends on how much of. Remember how he kept saying it? Oh, I'm just adjusting. It's taking so much time for me to adjust from coming to Tampa. If that wasn't all just lip service and it really did take him that long to adjust, then maybe he would put that into consideration, saying, well, if I go to the Yankees, do I want to have to go through another 2 years of, getting adjusted to New York to where, I'm finally adjusted here. Maybe I'll just stay here and save myself the hassle. I doubt it because I'd rather have 25 million, but that would be the only scenario I could think of.
Look, there is so much going on with this Padres franchise right now. I can't even envision
An offer?
a $150+ million offer being put out to anybody right now.
And I agree with you, but you think Snell potentially walks without an offer from the Padres?
I do. Even you see reports. I'm sure the Padres would love to have Blake Snell back because they need pitching, and he was the best pitcher last year. And him and Ruben Niebla worked beautifully
apparently
last season. But with everything going on,
right?
I don't know if an offer to Blake Snell is at the top of their list right now.
Because of everything going on or because of payroll?
Both.
See, that's my concern. That you saying that for Padres fans should be extremely concerning.
Well, first off, we got to see if they trade Juan Soto or not. Second, if they do,
you think it's all domino like that? That it has to start there.
Yeah,
has to start there.
Has to start there because if you keep Soto, your payroll's at without making any other moves is around 200.
Yep.
Okay. You need 3 starters minimum. You need probably a first baseman. You need another catcher. You need another outfielder. You need another bench piece and probably a DH.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
And bullpen help.
True, but there's also cost savings we haven't even addressed. I mean, there's all types of cost savings
with Juan Soto.
Yeah,
once that decision's made, how about this? They trade Juan Soto, then they would have freed up money and to go out and potentially offer Blake Snell a contract less than $30 million a year, which was what Juan Soto is going to get next season, 30 plus, probly around the 33 range, right? I'm not saying you have wiggle room, but if you want to keep it around 200, you lose Juan Soto and you gain Blake Snell for long term.
Well, I guess the issue with that is the issue you brought up a minute before you said that, which is, well, if you keep either Soto or Snell and you hit 200 without filling out the roster,
then you're
you're kind of in the same spot that you were in. Now, again, there's other moves to be made around these big pieces. There's $6 million here, there's $5 million there, there's $8 million there, so they have some wiggle, I would assume. But
I would assume also that a lot of moves this offseason will be through trades.
I would be, I mean, of course. I mean, any free agent move is going to be a more minor move compared to any trade possibility.
Yeah.
Unless it's your own, unless they're willing to do it for a Blake Snell or consider some type of an extension for Juan Soto. That doesn't seem likely at all to me. The Soto thing is even, in terms of him staying here, is even broached. I think what could be broached is moving him. But you're like, Eric could send hey, it's your first day in the office. I got Scott Boras on the line. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
It just doesn't sound right.
That's laughable.
It is.
That is completely laughable. I mean, am I crazy? Crazier things have happened, but you're signing Juan Soto to an extension with an interim point person Exactly.
No. One of the reasons why Juan Soto didn't sign in Washington because he wanted to wait to see the ownership group and the new ownership group in Washington. Losing Peter Seidler hurts in many, many ways that are more important than baseball.
Right.
But from a baseball standpoint, losing him hurts because you've lost the guy that could go into a room and had relationships with people and could get things done and had a pretty good relationship with Scott Boras.
Yeah. You saw there were quotes in the obituary yesterday from Kevin from Scott Boras.
So the effects of losing Peter Seidler are felt for sure off the field, more importantly, but in that front office, like you said, you're not having AJ go, "Hey, Eric, Scott's on the line."
Yeah, I mean, that's a relationship lost. Maybe the Seidler-Boras relationship was probably an important one for the Padres.
Yeah,
I mean that you consider some of the negotiation that had occurred between the two, some of the goodwill.
Yeah. Now is Scott also Snell's agent as well, right?
He is now, isn't he? I think he is.
Yeah. Same thing with Nick Martinez. I know he just became agent there, but Nick Martinez.
Yeah. Again, I mean, Boras represents the client. So it's the client that it starts with the client.
Yeah.
But if you sign with Boras, you get what you sign up for, which is typically top dollar in free agency. That's the point.
Yep. And it's just going to be interesting to see like when the domino falls, because it's gonna fall at some point.
Well, we'll get clarification on Soto. They elect to keep him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They
want to trade him.
Right,
They'll
like,
say one or the other.
Yeah, that domino of the decision on Juan Soto.
Yeah, I hope we get that at some point, like relatively soon, as in like winter meetings time frame. They would have a determination in what they want to do with Soto.
But also, and real quick, I know we got to get to a break here. I still feel the same way about AJ. Is whatever he says, I can't fully believe it, because that trust is
on Soto.
Yeah, like if they come out in the winter meetings and say we're not trading Juan Soto,
right?
Can you honestly 100% believe that?
No, you're right. Probably not.
Yeah. So opening
what
day.
What if Eric Senda says it?
I don't even know what Eric Senda sounds like.
Good point.
So opening day, if Juan Soto's on the team on opening day, that's when
I think he's staying.
Then I think he's staying for at least the first half.
All right, let's talk to Chris. Friars Till We Die. They do great Padres gear, right?
They're my gosh.
Just huge supporters of the Padres. We've talked to them a number of times. Wrap-up show stuff. But they're doing an initiative right now that we want to talk about because it's benefiting the Lucky Duck Foundation, near and dear to Peter Seidler, addressing homelessness in San Diego County. Chris from Friars Till We Die joins us next. Jon and Jim. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. I've been telling you about Windmill Farms for a long time. Great local grocer serving our community for over 20 years. Their owner, Trevor, his family, marvelous family, working with so many local businesses that stock inside Windmill Farms. It's a great spot during your work week. You're looking for lunch. You want it to be affordable. How about Windmill Farms? Go to their deli, pick up a sandwich, get your 8th sandwich free with the sandwich card. Their prices are incredibly low. They take so much pride in it. They use great ingredients. They're concerned about your health. So make sure to check them out. The college area's natural grocer, covered for your weekends, getting ready for tailgates, watching sports. Get ready with your game day needs. They've got organic, farm fresh produce and meats, amazing beer, everything you can imagine, craft beer, kombucha, more. The deli that's award-winning that we've told you about, centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard, across from Montezuma Mesa. They've been family-owned for over 20 years. They support local businesses, Harris Ranch, Mr. G Salsa, so many more. You don't have to live or work near Del Cerro. You can find Windmill Farms on Instacart, have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep. Also, windmillfarmsmarket.com. Check it out for weekly specials. windmillfarmsmarket.com. See all of their weekly specials and shop local. Shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. We'll start in baseball. The AL and NL MVP were announced today, both unanimous winners. Shohei Ohtani winning the American League and Ronald Acuna in the National League. Other news in baseball today with the Padres, Eric Casenda, he has been named the point person of the Padres in the wake of the passing of Peter Seidler. College football news of the day. Jim Harbaugh has been officially suspended, and he's accepted his 3-game suspension for the remainder of the season. And the Aztecs, basketball and football this weekend, starting tomorrow night in Las Vegas. Aztecs basketball takes on St. Mary's, 6:30 tip. And Aztecs football taking on San Jose State, 7:30 on Saturday. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right. I think a lot of Padres fans already know about FriersTillWeDie.com. We're going to learn more right now and talk about something that Chris and FriersTillWeDie.com are doing right now. So, Chris, first of all, thanks for joining us here on Jon and Jim. You've got this. I want to talk about Friars Till We Die, but I also want to talk about what you're doing here. This Papa Pete T-shirt with proceeds benefiting the Lucky Duck Foundation. Really cool design. What was your thought process here behind doing this? And tell us about FriersTillWeDie.com.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. With this Papa Pete kind of illustration I did, it was just more of like a post that, I usually do on Twitter. And this one was kind of in honor of Peter Seidler. But I was getting a lot of DMs and a lot of comments saying, hey, make this one of your designs. And gave it a few hours and then, just kind of posted it onto our website. And then just kind of thought, have it serve as a, dedication to Peter and, kind of what he stood for, and then just kind of made it for the Lucky Duck Foundation. So kind of in honor of Peter Seidler.
And Chris, talk about, I've already purchased one myself. I can't wait to get it. But the response that you have gotten from this shirt, I know you guys get, flooded with things all the time. Fantastic. I've read some comments. It seems like this one is kind of blown up.
Yeah, it really, really has. It's only been a couple nights since we've had it on the site, and it's really, really blown up. And I think it just goes to show like how important this man was to San Diego sports and the Padres in general. And yeah, we're just really happy that it's blown up, and we're just kind of really excited to see people have this on opening day, because we know how emotional it's going to be in honor of Peter Seidler.
So, Chris, for our listeners, if they're looking for this is a Papa Pete T-shirt with all the proceeds benefiting the Lucky Duck Foundation, something near and dear to Peter Seidler. For our listeners that want to see it, where can they find it?
Just go to our website, FriersTillWeDie.com. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram as well. And it's just there. It's available in a couple colors, variety of sizes, and it's shipping really fast, so you'll probably get it within the next week.
And Chris, before we let you go, you guys do multiple designs, multiple shirts and pins and everything. Do you have opportunities for fans to go out and get these merchandise from you at maybe like pop-up shops or anything like that around town?
We're doing this right now as a limited kind of run. Probably until after the weekend, but we've also been in contact with the Lucky Duck Foundation, and we really want to do something come around January or February, right before spring training, and maybe we'll eventually do maybe more of a pop-up shop for this specific design as well.
What got you into this in general? Not this like doing designs themed around San Diego sports, specifically the Padres. Is it your design background, your passion, your interest? What was it?
It's a little combination of everything. Yeah, I've been doing this for about, I would say 5 years. It all started with the skull design, and it's kind of been. I used to print in a garage and just by myself, and now it's kind of turned into a bigger thing. And it just kind of shows how dedicated we are as San Diego sports fans, and I love it. I personally, it's my side project. I'm a designer as a profession. But this is truly where I put out all of my passionate designs, because it's something that I love. I love the Padres so much. I love San Diego sports. It's a homer.
Well, this is really good stuff, honestly, because you think about Peter Seidler's legacy. So much more than baseball. But when you can tie the two together,
Yeah.
Padres passionate fan base with his interest supporting the local homeless community, and with proceeds benefiting the local Duck Foundation, that's incredible work, Chris. So,
Real quick, by the
yeah,
way, I've seen many posts online trying to steal this design. There's only one. There's only one design of this, and you have to go to prizetillwedie.com. Of course, this is the place to do it and buy it because all of the proceeds, like you said, go to the Lucky Duck
Yeah.
Foundation. So just keep that in mind when you're.
does that happen in general, Chris?
Yeah.
Do people rip off your designs?
It does, and it's super common, but it comes with the territory. People know who to go through for the actual designs, and luckily we have a really good community, as you guys know, on Twitter and Instagram, where they call those things out. They call out the bots, and yeah, it's just something like this is just it's so good to do something for a good cause, especially for somebody that cared so much about it. And I mean, he was just an icon for us. The little time we had him as an owner for the Padres, but he did so much and he made us believe and really wanted to put a quality product on the field and really wanted to see a championship come to San Diego too.
Yeah, what a legacy. You're right. It's such a short period of time in so many different areas. Again, you can check it out if you want to support the Lucky Duck Foundation, frierstillwedie.com. The Papa Pete, King of San Diego t-shirt design from our buddy Chris. Chris, thanks for hopping on with us for a few minutes.
Thanks, man.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
I do.
I've already purchased one. I got it's kind of like a beige color, not a beige color. It's like an
Off-white, yeah.
off-white-ish
Yeah,
color.
it's got a yellow one.
Because, opening day next year, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of people wearing these exact shirts. You're probably going to see a lot of other designs out there, like with Peter Seidler
Yeah,
attached to
I'm
it, because
sure
it's
you
going to
will.
be a very emotional day there. And we talked about it's going to be weird to have Bob Melvin back in
Yes,
town
it will.
as the manager of the
Yeah.
Giants. I also think now it seems fitting because Bob had Peter was Bob's like he trusted and he wanted Bob back.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's going to be a lot of emotions on opening day next year. You're probably going
Oh,
to see a lot
yeah.
of these shirts out there at Petco Park.
No doubt about it. Opening day has a chance to be really good for the community in general. Like, kinda not to finish a mourning process, but to celebrate really Peter Seidler's legacy. And
Yeah.
at that point, you're gonna be months removed, obviously. It'll be highly emotional. Opening day is always great. It's opening day,
Yeah.
right? Everyone starts with the same record. It's opening day. Now, actually, everyone's not starting with the same record this opening day because they'll have played 2 games.
Play
But
2 games.
You get the point.
They could have a little leg up on everybody if they start
could.
2-0.
Or we could be freaking out.
Yes, we could.
That's a possibility.
Most likely be freaking out.
All right, here's what I want you to do. If you want a 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California, and if you want to play our trivia game, Trainwreck Radio, you need to call right now because the first 2 callers will be our contestants. 844-570-1360. We have a free 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California today. This is an amazing prize. 844-570-1360. Legoland Holidays is here, presented by Hallmark. Celebrate November 18th through January 7th with festive characters, shows, food, snow, and more. Visit legoland.com/California for details. The number to call for a free 4-pack of tickets. 844-570-1360. First 2 callers will be our contestants. Trainwreck Radio next. Trainwreck Radio on the other side. Plus, NL MVP voting. How did the Padres do? Next. All right, Trainwreck Radio in a moment. The changes at the top of the Padres we'll discuss again coming up at 5 p.m. Before we do any of that, we have MVP results. We've mentioned Ronald Acuna obviously winning it, but a number of Padres got votes. So who got votes and where did they finish?
So Juan Soto got 106 points, I guess, right?
Okay, that's a lot of points.
Blake Snell got 16. Fernando Tatis Jr. and Ha-Seong Kim both got 5. And if I'm looking at the voting here, Juan Soto, he finished 6th.
In sixth place.
Sixth place.
Yeah.
Behind Corbin Carroll, Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and of course Ronald Acuna Jr.
Okay, pretty good.
Yep. And then 13th, 14th, and 15th were all Padres.
13th, 14th, and 15th is like Kim and Tatis.
It's Blake Snell, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Ha-Seong Kim.
Ha-Seong Kim.
So you had 3 Padres back to back to back.
Okay.
And that
so
was
four.
it.
So 4 of the 15 top 15 in the National League were Padres.
Correct.
And they went 82 and 80.
Correct. And I'm looking here. Obviously, the Braves had more.
More than 4.
More than 4.
Okay.
They had Ronald Acuna. They had
Olsen.
Austin Riley.
Mm-hmm.
They had Matt Olson. They had Ozuna. And that's it. No, and Ozzy Albies.
Okay.
It's funny here. It says Bryce Harper, Nationals.
Does it really?
Yeah, right.
That's weird.
Yeah, very weird.
So Ha-Seong Kim now can forever say he was a top 15 MVP vote getter.
So I'm pretty sure the Padres having 4 players here are like one of the teams in baseball with the most players with MVP votes.
Well, yeah. I mean, 4 out of 15 is over 25%. So that's correct.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's
there's more than 15 here, but
gotcha.
Like Nick Castellanos got a 10th place vote.
Gotcha.
This
is anyone that received a vote, you're saying?
Everybody that received a vote. Assuming it's probably a Philly writer. We saw that with Will Myers a couple years ago with Kevin Acey.
Yeah.
If you have a ballot and you cover somebody
10 spots. I mean,
and it's a lot of times it's like you have these players in their contracts have escalators for if they get MVP votes. And so I'm sure that these writers throw a solid out to these players. Like, hey, give you a 10th place vote, you get a couple $100,000.
yeah, and you buy me like something nice.
Right.
All right, congratulations to those 4 Padres.
And Ronald Acuna, the first time ever you had unanimous MVPs in both leagues.
That's interesting.
First time ever.
And Acuna.
Yeah.
All right. On the other side, again, at 5 p.m., we're going to get to these Padres changes at the top of the organization following the passing of Peter Seidler. But right now, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's contestants, we have Greg and Christian. Greg, you called in first. So you have your choice of Jon or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Choose Jon.
Let's go with Jon.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, Christian, you get me, okay?
Excellent.
All right. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys. Currently, Draymond Green is tied for 11th all time with technical fouls with 170.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. Today's question, name anybody else that's in the top 10 players with the most technical fouls in NBA history.
Ooh.
So we're looking for players with attitude problems that got teed up a lot.
Okay. All time, right?
All time.
All time. And Draymond he's not on the list.
No, because he's on 11. He's
okay.
11.
So, okay, cool. Christian, you're up first. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm going to go with Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard on the list.
Number 9.
Wow. Good guess. Greg, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to try Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman.
Yep.
That's a good one. Christian, you're up next. What's your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to go with
you have a lifeline.
Lifeline.
Rasheed Wallace. Do you take it?
Sure.
Wow.
Boom. He's got to be close to the top, right?
He's 3rd.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
It's close to the top there. All right, Greg, you're up next. What is your second guess? And you do have your lifeline still if you want to use it.
I'm thinking Karl Malone.
Karl Malone. Okay.
You want to take that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
on the list.
Number 1.
Number 1?
That's crazy.
Wow.
How many?
You want to guess?
Well, it's
I'm going to
200.
say 270.
You're both way low. 332.
How many games? That's crazy.
Wow.
It's like every other game.
All right, Christian, final guess for you, buddy. You do not have a lifeline, so this is all up to you. What do you got?
Russ Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook.
Wow.
On the list, baby.
Wow.
Love it.
Okay.
Greg, you're going to need this to send this thing to overtime. You do have your lifeline still, so what are you going to do, man? What do you got?
I had someone in mind, but Jon, who do you got for me?
I'm thinking Bad Boys. I'm thinking Bad Boys Bill Lambier. And I have no clue. But that's where my mind went to like all those like 30 for 30 docs of like punches being thrown.
But did they get technicals or did they just get fouls?
I mean, they were technicals.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah, they're technicals.
Okay.
I think that was just a foul back in the days.
Maybe.
That was okay back in the days. I was thinking Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley. So what are you going to take? You going to take Charles Barkley or Bill Lambier?
I think I'm going to go with my gut, go Charles Barkley.
Barkley for the tie.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Was Lambier on the list?
He was not.
See?
Wow.
See?
Good call, Greg.
Yeah.
See, the one thing you have to remember, a lot of Rodman's texts came when he played for the Pistons as well.
True.
But when Lambier played, they didn't even flagrant fouls didn't exist yet.
Yeah, they're
because
just common
those
fouls.
existed because
That's
of
crazy.
the Pistons. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
a chokehold back in the day was a common foul. All right, now we're going to overtime. Rules and question, Brent.
All right, how overtime works is I'm going to ask you a question. When I'm done asking the question, you are going to yell out the name of your partner today, either Jon or Jim. Don't yell out the answer. Whoever yells out the name of their partner first, you are going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. You guys got it?
Got it.
Okay, today's overtime question. What team were the Warriors playing when Draymond got tossed?
Jim.
I heard Jim.
Christian, what do you got?
I got
When he got tossed for choking someone out.
that was Rudy Gobert.
5 seconds. What team was that though?
He plays for the Jazz.
The Utah Jazz is incorrect, although he did play for them. The Minnesota Timberwolves. And Greg wins.
Because you could have said it, a lot of teams that Draymond Green's been tossed out against.
True, but this just happened the other night.
I know. You say,
Wow,
yeah.
that was see. People love to chime in, but then they only get the correct answer like 50%.
But would you rather be the person that gets an opportunity to get the right answer than just be sitting on the sideline
True.
hoping that you
Miss
don't?
all the shots you don't take.
That's right.
Exactly.
Who else is on this list?
All right. Malone was number 1. Barkley was number 2. Rashid was 3. The glove, Gary Payton was 4.
Yeah.
Rodman was 5. This one kind of surprised me. Dirk Nowitzki was 6th.
Wow.
He had
A lot of games.
He had 199. Anthony Mason from the Knicks. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
That always shaved his name inside of his head. He was 7th. Westbrook was 8th. Dwight Howard was 9. And KG, Kevin Garnett, was number 10.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, Greg, congratulations. You have won a 4-pack of tickets to Legoland, California. Legoland Holidays is here. Presented by the Hallmark Channel. Celebrate November 18th through January 7th. Festive characters, shows, food, snow, quote unquote, and more. Get it? Like it doesn't really snow. Visit Legoland.com/California because we live
Is
in
it
Southern
Lego
California.
snow?
I get. Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would hurt.
I say no. That'd hurt your
That would
feet.
really hurt. Legoland.com/California for details.
Legos.
Padres have a change at the top of their ownership structure following the passing of Peter Seidler. Who's in charge of operations? We have the latest. Hour 3 of Jon and Jim. Plus, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational next week at Lion Tree, Seton Hall, SC, Iowa, and Oklahoma. Hour 3, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. We'll start in baseball. The AL and NL MVPs were announced today. Shohei Ohtani wins the AL MVP, and Ronald Acuna Jr. wins the NL MVP. Both players won unanimously. First time that's ever happened in baseball. Sticking with baseball and the Padres today, Eric Casenda was named the point person of the team in the interim after the passing of Padres owner Peter Seidler. Moving over to college football news. Jim Harbaugh has accepted his 3-game suspension. He's going to be out for the remainder of the regular season. And Aztecs basketball tomorrow night is to take on St. Mary's, and Aztecs football this weekend on Saturday versus San Jose State. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone. We've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. This hour, we'll give away a pair of tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational. Next week, Lion Tree Arena, Friday, Championship Friday, SC, Iowa, Seton Hall, Oklahoma. We'll give those tickets away this hour. Jim's back page is still ahead. We started the show by telling you that Eric Kutsenda will serve as the Padres' interim control person. Who? It's not just me and Jim saying that or our listeners saying, who is that? You look at the photo The Athletic used for their article that is headlined Eric Kutsenda to serve as Padres interim control person. It is a glove and a Padres hat.
There's no pictures of him anywhere.
It's like, that's the photo.
It's like the kid that was sick on picture day, so they just have to put the photo not available.
I mean, that, and to your point, yeah, there aren't any. I mean, you could go to that equity firm website and there is one photo. I don't know if The Athletic has rights to it or whatever.
Are we sure he really exists? And
that's the thing. Like
he's not AI.
I'm telling you, if you Google Eric Kutsenda, you're not finding a lot. He's tied, obviously, to Peter's equity firm. There's 3 or 4 sentences on him online. I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world. I don't know what it means, but we're turning the page here. Obviously, the organization is mourning the loss of Peter Seidler, and San Diegans are as well, as we should be. But the Padres did move forward to name Eric Kutsenda as their interim control person. We had been led to believe that the team would be in the Seidlers, name for 50 or 75 years, and it will be in all likelihood. But it will not be someone with the last name Seidler, at least in the short term, Jim, running the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just the whole thing is weird because you feel like you just kind of want to stop time for a little while after the passing of Peter, but you can't.
Right.
This team has to move forward. They're going to have to announce a manager coming up. They're going to have the winter meetings. They're going to, roster construction, like everything continues to move forward. Whoever's going to be the permanent, I guess, point man or point person for the team is still going to be yet to be determined. Obviously, the ownership group, like who is now going to be the chairman and primary owner of the Padres? Like those are all questions that I think legitimate to have. And if you're a Padres fan, you're sitting there and you're just like, man, I really hope whoever is the next Peter Seidler. I'm not even saying like that because no one can ever be Peter. Peter was one of one. Whoever takes over here and is put in charge, you just hope that this person has the same type of vision as Peter. And you hope that you don't get stuck with some loser like a John Fisher.
That hopefully isn't extreme.
That's
hopefully that's not something we have to worry about.
I'm going to the crazy extreme.
And I'm not going there.
But I also think that it's fair to say, like, whoever is the person that takes over here, whether it be Eric Kutsenda or somebody else,
right?
Somebody in Peter's family, you hope that person takes Peter's vision and continues it.
Yeah, and that's far from guaranteed, unfortunately. And they can say whatever when they introduce this ownership group, or Eric could send it to the media at some point, presumably next week. And we don't know if it's going to be accurate or not. I mean, just because it looks good on a podium or they say the right things doesn't mean that it's going to be run the same way. And we said this earlier. We already knew business was going to change regardless of Peter's passing, because we were led to believe they had debt issues. They had taken out loans. They had to get it back under control. We thought the payroll was coming down. That was reported well prior to Peter's passing. So we know that, but the additional caveat is not only is the payroll likely coming down, the team is being run potentially by someone that isn't even in the Seidler family, potentially. I don't know that. Nobody knows the full extent of it. I don't know Eric Kitsenda's background in terms of what makes him the right person for this job. He might be the perfect fit. He may be, or he may not be. And I said it earlier, there's a fear of the unknown, and it's a legitimate one. And maybe that'll be put to the side once we learn a little bit more about Eric Kitsenda. But you go from this beloved figure in San Diego to a guy that doesn't have a headshot on the internet. And it just, and I'm just saying that is the reason for trepidation a little bit. Like, what's happening here?
I think it's also not expected, but it's not, I don't think, the end of the world.
To not have a headshot on the internet.
Well, no, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I have more headshots on the internet than Eric Kitsenda.
Way more.
And this guy is just way smarter than me and way more accomplished than I'll ever be.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's okay. He's probably smarter.
He's probably smarter. But there's a little bit about him that we could find. He's 51 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe he's 51 years old. That's
literally one headshot on the internet.
One. That's it. I searched on YouTube for him. I searched on Facebook, Instagram. We know Peter has a Facebook and has an Instagram, and he would often like get messages from fans and he would message them back. But I got nothing.
So he's 51. You found that?
I think that's what he.
I think that somewhere.
Does
he have Wikipedia? There's no way, right?
Does he?
Nope.
No, nothing.
No. How many followers does he have on LinkedIn?
Well,
500 plus? No.
490.
I got more LinkedIn followers. He's got 468. This guy's running the Padres.
He's a bot.
Man, he doesn't have a headshot.
No.
On LinkedIn.
No. He lives in
Then again, what does that all mean? Nothing. But it's the fear of the unknown.
He lives in LA.
Manhattan Beach.
Has a master's of science from DePaul and a bachelor's degree from Illinois.
That's what he's got.
Yeah, that's it. I do think this is just kind of like a placeholder type of thing because it was emphasized interim.
Was it emphasized or is that what he is?
That's what he is.
So I don't know if it was emphasized. I mean,
well, Dennis said today that next week, interim. There's also expectation that we're going to hear next week
that it's going to change
from the Padres about the future of the ownership.
Do you think next week? Do you think there's a chance that this interim thing is that short that between now and when they actually make a decision, something were to change? As in, why would that? My question would be, why would you do that if you had an immediate answer on the other side? Like the next week, it's actually going to be a brother or a sibling or a relative.
I do think this could last for a while, like because there is now the interim process for Major League Baseball happened very quickly, and there was guidelines in place for things of this nature of tragic passings unexpectedly or whatever the case may be for position of powers to be transferred on the interim basis very quickly. But for a permanent point person, for a permanent chairman, whatever you want to call the next person in charge, those processes do take a little while. Like they do have to be voted on by all of Major League Baseball. This is not just
right. But
they want this guy to be.
Yeah, but
this
the interim person could have been. Correct me if I'm wrong. The interim person, if Eric Kitsenda is the interim person, it could have been Peter's brother.
Yeah,
right. It could have been because this person was named within.
Who even knows if Eric Kitsenda wants to be in this role, or is he just doing it?
I mean,
he's just doing it because of his relationship with Peter over the last 30 years.
Yeah, maybe. We'll learn more hopefully. But these are the questions that run through your mind when you know nothing and there are no headshots and your Wikipedia page says nothing and you have no LinkedIn. And
you're like, oh my gosh, what's the future of this franchise? My favorite team. What's happening?
Right.
Like I
want being run by an equity firm out of Manhattan Beach. I mean, again, that's where your head wanders.
Right. Like, everybody's mourning the loss of Peter as they should. But it's like also, man, what's going to happen in the future here? Because as a fan, you want this team to win a championship, not only for your own self-interest, but for Peter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you want this team to win a championship for Peter.
100%.
And so you're thinking like, how can this be accomplished now? One, with no Peter, and two, the uncertainty of whoever's going to be in charge moving forward.
And of course it can be, and we'll learn more. And I don't know if it can be accomplished in 2024 or what it's going to take. They've been trying for 50 plus years and they haven't gotten through the finish line as of yet to bring a title here. And it's just murky. It was a week ago, Jim. It was murky, super murky. The direction, the year they were coming off, Soto, manager, what's taking so long? A week later, it's murky. And from no fault of their own, obviously. I mean, the passing of Peter Seidler, they should be mourning and grieving. And there will be a day where they get back to baseball activities. And they should take as much time as they need. But ultimately, on the other side of it, what Padres fans are going to want to know is what the Padres are going to look like. That's what Padres fans are going to want to know, because there will be more baseball games. There will be spring training, and hope springs eternal. And it will come, and it will not be here. It's not far off. That's just how sports work. You get winter meetings, you get Christmas, you get spring training, and you play March 20th. And that's how it works. And it's not as far off as you think it is. It's coming. So people want answers. And again, in time. Nobody's saying, I need answers today. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. But people will ask. And they'll get answers at some point.
I think there's a lot of nervousness from the fan base of like, please don't mess this up. Like, please don't do this. Don't do this, guys. Like, you have a albeit a short legacy of Peter here as owner of the team, but you have a vision that you have to uphold. And you have something that he desperately wanted to be accomplished, which was a world championship, and something that he deeply cared about, which was the fans. So please don't mess this up. Don't turn this into what we see from other ownership groups and other teams, where you never hear from the owner. You never hear about, the owner talk about the fan base at all. You rarely see them. They're rarely available for interviews. Like, you don't want that to happen here, because what you had in San Diego was something special, albeit they didn't win. We know that there were problems. There was dysfunction with the franchise. Like, we understand that, but at the same time, the core value of Peter Seidler was the deep caring of the fan base. And you just are hoping to yourself, whoever is put in charge is running the ship, steering the ship, has that same core value.
Hopefully. 844-570-1360. How do you feel, Padres fans, about this? Are you nervous, or do you want the process to play out? I mean, again, we'll give them a chance to hear from. We're going to hear from the organization at some point. This is obviously as tough of a week as you could possibly imagine for the San Diego Padres. 844-570-1360. David wants to weigh in, and David, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Oh, yes. I'm a native San Diegan Padre fan. I believe in karma. I believe that when Ray Kroc passed, they put his initials on the sleeve of the uniform, and the Padres went to the World Series that year. I was thinking along the same lines of that. This next upcoming season, putting Peter Seidler's initials on the sleeve of the Padres uniform. And if karma is true, then they go to the World Series. Your thoughts on that?
Love it. I mean, they'll definitely have a patch on their uniform.
Oh, for sure. They're going to do everything in their power to honor and pay respects to Peter next season and throughout the rest of the existence of the team.
So of the two, that's a little easier to forecast. You'll get the patch. I don't know if I can guarantee the World Series. 84 was remarkable. You look at the history of the Padres prior to 84. Wow. Lightning in a bottle stuff. This would be also somewhat improbable coming off 82 and 80. Now you have way more pieces in place. You got big names. So not impossible, but I think people on the outside would say it would be improbable.
Yes. Yeah. But we also have seen, if you just make it in as the last team in the National League, the more often than not, in the last 4 years especially, guess what? You're in the World Series.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
With as low as 84 wins.
Right.
If you had monster years from Manny and Xander and Tatis and Musgrove and Darvish, and I'm not going to put Soto in that because we don't know the outcome of Soto, but
I mean, D-backs won 84 games.
Yeah. I mean, if you had an MVP, if you had a 2022 type of season for Manny Machado in 2024,
right,
and you had a Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish all-star season like they have given to this Padres team, that's a very good starting point.
Yes,
you know, like you have that coupled with good years from Tatis. I said this before. If Tatis has a 2021 type of season next year, 40 plus home runs, 960, almost 1,000 OPS, he's going to play Gold Glove defense in right field. You know that. Stays healthy, plays 145, 150 games. Like,
you have a good team, you would think he's doing that.
You would think,
just because of that production.
I'm not going to say it's impossible to win a World Series next year.
Neither would I.
But I can tell you for sure going into this season, my optimism on them accomplishing that is much lower than it was this past year before the season started.
Right. Yeah. Last year's momentum.
Yeah. Last year before the season started, it was all right.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. And what are they going to win the division this year and season play? Like that was all in your mind. Everything went to hell. And then you're like, I don't know if I could trust this team right now. And going forward, 2024, you're kind of a little of a 180 from the feelings that you had at the beginning of 2023. Like, I don't know.
I mean, is it in itself galvanizing for a franchise and an organization to play in honor of someone? It absolutely can be.
Mm-hmm.
But is that alone what it would take? Well, of course, alone, that's not what it would take. When people talk about, like David said, karma, I mean, is it something that can possibly play out in someone's honor or memory? Yeah, of course it can. It's sports. We've seen crazy things in sports. It's not that crazy to imagine the Padres postseason next year.
Did you see? We talked about this yesterday. Players, I haven't seen much from players. You saw Yu Darvish, obviously. I looked on Instagram and saw Blake Snell and Josh Hader comment on the Padres post for Peter Seidler's passing. We heard Blake Snell yesterday talk after his and today would have been a day that people would call me right away. He was such a gentle human being. But we actually saw today from Xander Bogaerts. He posted on Instagram. Let me just find this real quick because it was kind of the first post that we've seen from a prominent player. And look,
Other than Darvish,
yeah. And he said, "One day we will win it for you."
Strong words.
And he had the post of the Peter Seidler passing.
Yeah, I hope he's right.
Hope he's right too. The fan base deserves it. Peter deserved it. His organization, like when you're chasing that first, it's always the hardest. But
I actually didn't like the sentiment that was relayed a little bit. I mean, this is my personal opinion. People may disagree with it.
I disagree.
I didn't like the sentiment of like now that he's gone, they should have played better for him in 2023. It's sports. Things happen. They didn't try not to win. The knock on them in 2023 was never they're not trying.
They tried. They just
I mean, yeah, they invested heavily. Peter put a lot into it, and it didn't work out the way he wished it would. That is called life, and that is sports.
I do also think, to your point, I agree with you.
To put it on like they failed him. I don't see it that way. I really don't. I think that's too much of an onus on players. The other players, this is professional sports. Like they're trying to win too.
I will say, and this is the hindsight of everything, the fact that a lot of maybe players and of course coach, managers, and the front office having issues throughout the season and not being able to put those issues aside to try to, I'm not saying they didn't try to win, but putting those issues aside and not letting them affect the season, which it absolutely did, is extremely disappointing.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to do with. I don't think it wasn't done because of Peter. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea that like they should have done more because of Peter's condition potentially.
Well, the thought process is if you go into the next season and the main thing is we want to win it for Peter, why couldn't that have been the main sentiment every year? Like we want to win it
because it's not realistic. Because every team would say that. Because every team wants to win every team is motivated to win. I mean, because nobody knows what the future is. You know what I mean? You don't go into a year saying we need to do it for Yeah, I mean, I don't see it that way. And to your point, I don't think 2024 is solely predicated on now that you're honoring someone, you're gonna automatically take advantage of that. I hope they do. Like, I think it is a motivational factor, but I don't hold them accountable for not winning, even though they were disappointing, like
I
they
think
let Peter down. I think that's unfair to the players.
I also think that fans can be disappointed even more knowing the outcome of everything. Like, you guys really let stupid little stuff play a factor in last season?
Yeah, but they let stupid little stuff play a factor in last season, not because just like you and I, they didn't know they were not gonna make it.
No, nobody did.
Yeah, so they are human beings like us, just like anyone would like them letting little things fester would be like any of the other 29 teams having highs and lows.
Well, don't you think that you should always have the mindset of we have a greater mindset and we shouldn't let these little things fester regardless?
Jim, we're humans, you know? No. I mean, yes and no. Like, of course, you would love to think that until the going gets tough. And you're 4 games under 500 with the $250 million payroll.
How about this? Even while Peter was here, they still let him down. Like they regardless of us knowing the eventual outcome of after this season, they still let him down. Like, you can't tell me they didn't.
But that's like, but not. They didn't try to. Is my point.
Well, no one tries to do anything. I don't try to like.
Well, they didn't. Letting someone down. It's like if you forgot Aaron's birthday, you let her down. Yeah, right. They didn't do that. They didn't perform the way you would hope them to perform.
Yeah.
It's professional sports.
I mean, contracts they didn't perform.
I don't think it's as simple as that at all.
Why not?
Because I don't think that's accurate.
What is it? What is it?
They had a bad year. Players didn't perform. Some did, some didn't.
They
And as a team, they were 82 and 80.
Yes,
I don't think they got big contracts.
I don't think they did
didn't
either.
perform. That's what you just said.
They got big contracts and they end up not performing. That's
No,
letting them down.
I just think I think it's way too far. And I don't think they got big contracts that didn't perform because of the big contracts.
Oh, I don't think that's the case at all. I'm just saying, in turn, cause they got big contracts, effect they didn't perform.
No, I disagree. That's not cause effect. They both happen to happen, but not cause effect. Cause effect is you got big contracts you didn't perform because of.
Well, because they get the big fine. They got the big contract, they ended up not performing.
Yes, I say they're not related.
Okay.
And you agreed throughout the course of the year.
I agree that they're not related. Like, they just took the contracts and said, yeah, screw it.
And
But also, we know there was issues in there that are petty. And we knew that there were issues with the manager and the GM that were petty.
I agree with that.
And that was what let down Peter Seidler.
Well, and Padres fans. You know, I mean, sure. We talked about it the whole time. I mean, it was just a letdown. I don't know if they let. To me, it was just a letdown and a disappointment. We'll get your calls on the other side. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. 844-570-1360 if you want to weigh in. We have Rady Children's Invitational tickets to give away. Jim's back page as well. Stay with us. All right. Hey, guys, it is Schaefer. You know how expensive it is to live in San Diego. The year's almost over. You might need cash for the holidays, or maybe you want to be credit card debt free for the new year. Call sponsor today with their Express Equity line of credit. You can get $20, $50, even $100,000 in as little as 5 days. You've got a ton of equity in your home. Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards. You can pay off personal loans. You could do a home improvement project. You could get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact, so your 3% rate is protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. You can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends by calling Loan Pronto now. Here's the number: 619-207-4336. 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Thursday night football tonight between the Bengals and the Bengals and the Ravens. Right now, Ravens have a 7-0 lead with 8:26 left in the first quarter there. Moving over to baseball news today, AL and NL MVPs were announced. Shohei Ohtani and Ronald Acuna both are the winners there unanimously. First time in baseball history. The Aztecs to take on St. Mary's tomorrow night in basketball in Las Vegas. And on Saturday, the Aztecs football team takes on San Jose State. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, 844-570-1360. A couple things we didn't even touch on other than with Darren during the fusion. I want a 3-hour fusion some days. We didn't even touch on this idea that Oregon State and Washington State
Shocked.
are going to start a 2-year alliance potentially with the Mountain West, which means San Diego State, according to Ross Dellinger, could play both Oregon State and Washington State next year in football, which would be a big story if that happens. That's supposedly getting finalized either this week or next. So we'll follow up on that. But there's been a lot of discussion about the Padres' changes following the passing of Peter Seidler. All right, 844-570-1360. Dave wants to weigh in. And Dave, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, good evening, guys.
Hey, man.
A couple of things here, 2 points, if you allow me, to get back to Jim and talking about the Oakland A's owner. I think what Jim's trying to say is ironic that you've got this guy up in Oakland that was allowed to run the franchise in the city right into the ditch, and there's no guardrail. And you got a wonderful guy like Peter Seidler down here, which frankly should be, I hope, more celebrated on the part of baseball in particular, but sports ownership in general. And other than the usual platitudes, I'm not seeing that. So I understand where Jim's going with this, and there's just a deep irony here that these things almost happen back to back. Second point I want to make is, having watched what Peter and AJ did over the years with the contracts and the signings and the spending, I had to think that certainly Peter had a feeling and a knowledge, having been a 2-time cancer survivor, that certainly there's a lifespan expectancy here that certainly is in jeopardy, and you're going to go for it, and you're going to try to do things that you're going right to the top as fast as you can because you don't know. And I think that kind of explains some of the behaviors. And when we're all scratching our heads about 10-year contracts and $300 million for ball players, et cetera, I do think that the organization, most in particular Peter, was trying to get this thing done before his unfortunate passing here.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Dave. I think a lot of people feel the same way. I think you're right. Maybe I'm just making it up with the benefit of hindsight. Maybe you're skipping a step, but you're trying to win. You're just all in. I mean, and it's via free agency, not development. It's not through your system. You got to win now.
And it wasn't like Peter came here and said, "Oh, this looks cool. I want to win now," and just changed everything. Like, he was here for 8 years before he became the chairman and primary owner.
True, but then he changed everything.
And he changed everything, but he was already here. Is my point,
right? But like once he took over,
yeah, he was watching. I'm sure he had his own way of wanting to do things, and seeing how great the fans were here and how they deserved a lot better, and all the losing that he saw from 2012 up to 2019, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then wanting to change that. And I think one thing you have to remember is it's not easy ever to bring in players and high price players in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have at times overpay, and you're probably gonna have to do things that you probably necessarily didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the 10-year contracts come in play, because they benefit the player. And in order to get something you want, you may have to do things you maybe don't want to do. Like, who knows if they truly wanted to give Xander Bogaerts a 10-year, 11-year deal. But the only way to get Xander Bogaerts in the building was to give him an 11-year deal.
100%. All these free
Same thing with Manny. Like, I don't know if they wanted to extend Manny for those 10 years. I know Peter loves Manny, and he wanted to make sure Manny was here for a long time. But also, you have to remember, like, hey, the only way to keep Manny is probably giving him a 10-year deal.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
It's both ways.
The issue that occurred now, with the benefit of hindsight, of course, is that the Padres, and this has nothing to do with Peter Seidler at all, they didn't develop from within during an entire tenure. I mean, AJ Preller's tenure coincides with Peter Seidler's ownership group almost in lockstep. Yeah, there were a couple of years in front of it before Preller got here, but you've got a 10-year run from a general manager where you haven't developed from within, which then put an organization in a spot. Well, if you really want to win, how are you going to do it? You're going to have to go outside the organization to do it. And you're going to have to spend. And a lot of people question that from day one. Is that sustainable or feasible? But I was all for it. It's like the adage, like you miss the shot you don't take. Uh, everyone's for everyone's for that. Everyone wants their owner spending money.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, not ideal, but I'd much prefer to try to win the way the Padres tried as opposed to try to win the responsible way. At the end of the day, you just want to win.
Yeah. The home run is your owner spends a boatload of money
and you win.
And you win. And all the money that's spent is deemed you spent it in a smart way. Or you just win and who cares? Like with the Rangers. Like, is anybody talking about Jacob deGrom's contract today?
No.
Nope. Anybody talking about Max Scherzer?
I don't think so.
Nope. World Series. That's it.
All that matters.
And that's what Peter's bottom line was. Doesn't care. Just wanted to win a World Series, and he would do it at almost all costs.
Yeah, definitely.
And now, has it hurt the franchise? Because that not only have they not won a World Series, but they've also, had really bad seasons 2 of the last 3 years. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's like I'll take I want the guy that is willing to do all to win, even if with the benefit of hindsight, you can say, well, as opposed to spending money here, they should have spent it there. Well, at least they spent the money.
Yeah.
At least they spent the money. And really, very few of these teams in the position that San Diego is in spend. Some win. Royals have won.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's small market teams that win. Milwaukee, Tampa.
It's much more fun to go the route of, hey, they just spent another $300 million.
I think so. I mean, Tampa's been great. Tampa's been way better than the Padres over the last 10 or 15 years. What's been more enjoyable to follow, the Rays or the Padres?
Yeah.
The Padres.
For sure. Like their off seasons, the last 4 seasons, 4 years, 5 years, honestly. Yeah, Hosmer in 2018. Have been like crazy, insane. I don't know if that's going to continue going forward.
No, I mean, I think this will be very newsworthy, obviously, this offseason, because there's so many decisions we're going to get between now and spring training, and I think a pretty short period of time. So I think it'll be noteworthy and newsworthy and interesting. But yeah, I'm not expecting, day one of the winter meetings, the back-to-back, Ohtani Snell news.
No.
I'm not expecting that. Maybe someone else is. I'm not expecting.
Unfortunately, I'm expecting the Juan Soto news, which is not the good news.
I hope not. I hope they can fight that off.
I do too.
I hope they can fight that off.
Give just one more year.
They had to know what Peter wanted to do with Juan Soto. I do know they had to know what Peter wanted to do.
Peter was such a at the front of the line of wanting to. Hey, I'm not afraid to give out large contracts, guy.
Can't take it with you.
Take it with you. Well,
what do you tell Marty about 500 million?
Yeah, I like to spend money.
I like to spend money. So I don't know. We'll find out. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
All right. On the other side, actually, right now, call if you want a pair of tickets to the Rady Children's Invitational. Caller 5. They are yours. This is for Friday at Lion Tree Arena. 844-570-1360. SC, Iowa, Seton Hall, Oklahoma. Rady Children's Invitational. San Diego, Lion Tree Arena. Next week, elite college basketball, holiday tournament, promising an unforgettable weekend of basketball beaches and the best San Diego has to offer. Tickets and info at RadyChildren'sInvitational.com. Again, tickets and info at RadyChildren'sInvitational.com. SC, Seton Hall, Oklahoma, Iowa. You'll see all 4 of those teams next Friday at Lion Tree. 844-570-1360. Jim's back page plus one story from Jon next. Aztec fans, San Diego sports fans, we have the perfect holiday gift for you. an amazing one-of-a-kind collectible commemorating the biggest moment in San Diego sports history, Lamont Butler's buzzer beater in the Final Four this past April, Houston, Texas, Energy Stadium. You get chills thinking about where you were. I was there courtside for this incredible, incredible moment. You need to see this collectible right now. Go to butleratthebuzzer.com. This is your opportunity to relive this historic moment with a limited edition collectible benefiting Lamont Butler's NIL efforts and the Aztec Link Collective that benefits San Diego State student athletes. Each print signed by Lamont Butler, authenticated and numbered. There are just dozens remaining. Best of all, you're supporting San Diego State student athletes. Visit butleratthebuzzer.com to see these beautiful collectibles for yourself. Once they're gone, they're gone. One run, one print. Supporting San Diego State student athletes, the best holiday gift you're going to find for a San Diego sports fan. Check it out, butleratthebuzzer.com. All right. So before Jim's back page, can I do a back page or do we need to play the back page sounder?
What for
Or is it
John's?
separate
We don't have
from
an open
Jim?
for John's back page.
That's what I'm saying though. Like, is it within the structure of the back page or not?
It's like the
'Cause
pre-back
I so
page.
rarely do it.
We don't have it open for Brent's back page either, but we still play yours.
Oh yeah,
True.
You should.
Okay,
we
then I
should. We
guess you
should create a. It's time for John's back page.
We've thought about that.
Or the time for Brent's back
yeah.
page.
Yeah, we should do that. I like that.
The one day John just said my name over yours.
Oh,
That's
nice.
right. That's right. Okay, well, I have a story, so let's get to it. Otherwise, I wouldn't get right
John.
to it. Yeah. So I'm told, this U.S.-China summit, the reason they're having it, in my opinion, is because I'm reading an AP article here that says it looks like China could send pandas back to the U.S., and this is from the Associated Press, with the Chinese president saying San Diego the likely destination. So pandas left the zoo in 2017. There's only one zoo in America with pandas. Can you name it? This is Panda Radio.
Cincinnati.
I don't know.
Do you know it off the top of
Tulane.
your head?
I do.
Tulane.
Okay.
It's Atlanta. They're no longer in D.C.
I was gonna say Atlanta.
They used to be in Memphis. They used to be in San Diego. Anyway, they left in 2017. And then there's a quote in this AP article from the Chinese president. It says, I was told that many American people, especially children, really miss the pandas. Yeah, they're pandas. Right? Have you ever gone to YouTube and watch panda videos when they sneeze? Have you? You've seen the sneezing pandas. No?
Yeah, they're not that.
They're super cute. They're pandas.
Now I know how you feel when I start
talking
reading,
about Marvel.
when I start reading stuff on the back page that's like, what?
All I'm saying
Did
is,
you ever go to the zoo when they were at the zoo?
The pandas? I went to the zoo when the
I
pandas
haven't.
were there, but I never saw the pandas because the
There's
line
a
was so
line.
long.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
I was just
bring
gonna
it
say
back
the line. You just sit there and then you get to look at them
for 1 second.
chew on bamboo for 30 seconds, and it's just like, ooh, that's exciting.
Dude, I think that's more than back page. You should have led the show with it. Pandas returning to San Diego?
No, you know what we should have led the show with?
What?
My very first story.
Okay.
And that is Denny's is opening its first drive-thru in California.
Wow.
The California's first drive-thru Denny's opened on Monday in the city of Kerman in Fresno County. The new location is along Whitesbridge Avenue near Goldenrod Avenue. The first 100 customers at the new branch received a custom mug along with free coffee for a month.
The whole
How's
restaurants drive through?
Yeah, how's that going to work though? Because it's not like McDonald's or something where they might already have a couple burgers ready to go. They're not just going to have pancakes ready to go, or am I going to have to sit in the drive-thru while they cook the pancakes? That'll take forever.
I don't know, Brent.
Is it all drive through or is there also in restaurant seating?
There's also in restaurant seating. Customers were also privy to some new breakfast menu items just in time for the holidays at Denny's. So
Such as?
they didn't say.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess those.
That was the most interesting part of the story.
I guess
We
they
didn't have it.
Right.
I guess they didn't. They forgot to talk about that.
Do you want to drive up there?
To drive through for a Denny's?
Right.
Nah, not really.
Yeah, agreed.
Not really. Today is Starbucks Red Cup Day, John. Did you know
they
that?
turn them over for the holidays?
Yeah. Hold on.
Kristen loves that.
My computer has a million different pop-ups. Don't you just hate that when you go to a website and literally the entire website is just
Well,
pop-up
you know what
ads?
you could do? Like what you could take the stories before the show
I
and
have
copy
them.
and paste them into Word.
No.
So you could
What-
that's what we call being prepared.
I am prepared. I have these ready to go.
Not really,
Well,
because if it doesn't load,
Oh,
that's
snap. My computer just told me, oh, snap.
exactly.
My computer literally just said, oh, snap. Well, I can't tell you how to get them, so.
If I told you one time off air, I'll tell you what our former program director said about this segment.
Yeah, he hates
He
it.
said, it would be good if Jim had the stories before he starts reading them. I said, I know.
It'd be nice if my computer worked. That'd be awesome, too.
Like Brett is he's got the thesis. He's got it all dialed in.
That's great.
But it's Jim's back page.
Thursday, November 16th, the coffee chain is going to give out the 2023 version of the reusable holiday red cup for free while supplies last. To get the special cup, all you have to do is order a holiday beverage through the Starbucks Christmas Blend Brewed Coffee and Christmas Starbucks Reserve. So yeah, go to their holiday menu, order a holiday item, and you get a red Starbucks cup.
Starting tomorrow.
starting today.
All right, let's do it.
Today, John. Did you know, John, that you never saw Elf, right? Because you don't watch
Yeah,
movies.
I know. I've seen it.
You've seen
the
it?
dude in the streets of New York.
Vague, but I guess
I mean,
sure.
you could technically
That's
say
part of
there's a
it.
lot of movies out
Yeah,
there with the
but you get it.
person in the
Dressed
street
like
of
an
New York.
elf.
You know, he could be talking about Taxi Driver. It could be
Yeah.
Elf. Who knows?
But yeah, it's Christmas movie.
Starting November 17th, which is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The Will Ferrell classic Elf will be returning to
Will Ferrell.
participating theaters for its 20th anniversary.
IMAX?
No, it's just going out to regular theaters.
Okay.
So you can have a chance to go watch Buddy the Elf in theaters starting tomorrow, running through December 3rd.
Brent, would you do that?
No, I'm not a big Elf guy. That's usually
Right.
not my rotation.
Jim, would you do
My
that?
old roommate used to
No.
watch that starting on Thanksgiving. She'd watch it like every
Every
day
day.
until New Year's. It was annoying.
If you don't want to go back to the movie theater to watch Elf, don't worry. The movie will be streaming on Hulu starting on November 23rd.
Okay.
Will you ever watch any Christmas movies?
Give me another example. I mean, sure. If maybe I don't know.
Santa Claus?
That's a movie.
Yes.
The name of the movie is Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus.
Oh, the
well,
Santa
no,
Claus.
there's Santa Claus the movie.
I'll
and
see,
then there's the Santa Claus.
The Grinch, like 20-minute, like 1970
Yeah,
cartoon.
I watched that.
With the little dog, the
Yeah.
green guy, Grinch. You know, have you know that story?
Yeah, yes.
No, John.
Okay.
Finally, Chuck E. Cheese, you know, the iconic, I guess, animatronic band that they have on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're taking away the band. The
Why?
band is no more. This week, the company announced that they will be removing the band at all locations except one near Los Angeles.
I blame Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, yeah, that movie?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know anything about
Even
it.
though Willy's Wonderland was better, I know. I'll explain it to you off air, maybe.
So anyway,
So,
the weird
yeah.
animatronic band at Chuck E. Cheese.
I don't,
You've seen,
I don't remember that.
You've
dude.
seen that band.
You don't
right?
remember that with the
No, I
mouse?
don't.
And they
I would
play
go to
music
that.
And they're like
give you
they're on
pizza?
stage. They're like, yeah.
Did they do that when I was a kid?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
I blocked that out.
You block a lot of
Believe it or
things out.
not, I blocked that completely
It's a
out.
repressed memory, though.
Okay. Great job on the back page. That was awesome. Me and you. Pandas in San Diego.
What was your favorite story?
Pandas in San Diego.
I don't know about that one.
All right. You said diners in Fresno.
Denny's in Fresno.
Oh, yeah. Denny's in
Drive-in
Fresno.
Denny's. Yes.
All right. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Leave a review if you're listening to the podcast of Jon and Jim. Find us on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. Find us on social at Jon and Jim. JONANDJIM. I'll join at some point tomorrow from Vegas. San Diego State St. Mary's tomorrow night at 6:30. Jon and Jim beginning tomorrow at 3 p.m. Friday edition. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.
Okay.